Chapter 3. Now Jehoram, the son of Ahab, began to reign over Israel in Samaria in the 18th year of Jehoshaphat, king of Judah, and reigned 12 years. And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord, but not like his father and like his mother, for he put away the pillar of Baal that his father had made. Nevertheless he cleaved unto the sins of Jeroboam the son of Nebat, wherewith he made Israel to sin. He departed not therefrom. Now Mesha, king of Moab, was a sheepmaster, and he rendered unto the king of Israel the wool of 100,000 lambs and of 100,000 rams. But it came to pass, when Ahab was dead, and the king of Moab that the king of Moab rebelled against the king of Israel. And King Jehoram went out of Samaria at that time, and mustered all Israel. And he went and sent to Jehoshaphat, the king of Judah, saying, The king of Moab hath rebelled against me. Will you go with me against Moab to battle? And he said, I will go up. I am as you are, my people as your people, my horses as your horses. And he said, Which way shall we go up? And he answered, The way of the wilderness of Edom. So the king of Israel went, and the king of Judah, and the king of Edom, and they made a circuit of 7 days' journey. And there was no water for the host, nor for the beast that followed them. And the king of Israel said, Alas, for the Lord hath called these 3 kings together to deliver them into the hand of Moab. But Jehoshaphat said, Is there not here a prophet of the Lord, that we may inquire of the Lord by him? And one of the kings of Israel's servants answered and said, Elisha the son of Shaphat is here, and who poured water on the hands of Eliah. And Jehoshaphat said, The word of the Lord is with him. So the king of Israel and Jehoshaphat the king of Edom went down to him. And Elisha said unto the king of Israel, What have I to do with you? Go you to the prophets of your father, and to the prophets of your mother. And the king of Israel said unto him, Nay, for the Lord hath called these 3 kings together to deliver them into the hand of Moab. And Elisha said, As the Lord of hosts lives, before whom I stand, surely were it not that I regard the presence of Jehoshaphat the king of Judah, I would not look toward you, nor see you. But now bring me a minstrel. And it came to pass, when the minstrel played, that the hand of the Lord came upon him. And he said, Thus saith the Lord, Make this valley full of trenches. For thus saith the Lord, You shall not see wind, neither shall you see rain. Yet that valley shall be filled with water, and you shall drink, both you and your cattle, and your beasts. And this is but a light thing in the sight of the Lord. He will also deliver the Moabites into your hand, and you shall smite every fortified city, and every choice city, and shall fell every good tree, and stop all fountains of water, and mar every good piece of land with stones. And it came to pass in the morning, about the time of making the offering, that, behold, there came water to the way of Edom, and the country was filled with water. Now when all the Moabites heard that the kings were come up to fight against them, they gathered themselves together, and all that were able to put on armor, and upward, and stood on the border. And they rose up early in the morning, and the sun shone upon the water, and the Moabites saw the water some ways off, as red as blood. And they said, This is blood. The kings have surely fought together, and they have smitten each man his fellow. Now therefore Moab to the spoil. And when they came to the camp of Israel, the Israelites rose up and smote the Moabites, so that they fled before them, and they smote the land, even Moab, mightily. And they beat down the cities, and on every good piece of land they cast every man his stone, and filled it. And they stopped all the fountains of water, and felled all the good trees, until there was left only Hareseth, with the stones of the wall thereof. So the slingers encompassed it, and smote it. And when the king of Moab saw that the battle was was too sore for him, he took with him 700 men that drew sword, to break through unto the king of Edom. But they could not. Then he took his eldest son, that should have reigned in his stead, and offered him for a burnt offering upon the wall. And there came great wrath upon Israel, and they departed from him, and returned to their own land. All right, let's go back up to verse 1. Now, we'll remember yesterday the Eliah was called up to God in a chariot of fire. Went up to God in a chariot of fire. And Elisha has been taken his place. And we'll remember then when God had spoken to him to anoint Elisha in his stead. And this is that spirit of division that God put upon Eliah or Elijah. We're going to be picking this story is going to be the kings are going to have a battle now. The king of Edom, the king of Israel, and the king of Judah, all against the king of Moab. And we'll pick it up in verse 1. Now Jehoram, the son of Ahab, began to reign over Israel and Samaria in the 18th year of Jehoshaphat, the king of Judah, and he reigned for 12 years. So Jehoram, now he is the brother of Ahaziah, who fell through the lattice, and he's died. And Jehoram is his brother. He's also the son of Ahab. He's probably the second born. And Jehoram means God is exalted. And he takes over the kingdom now of Samaria, this place of the dregs, in the 18th year of Jehoshaphat. And Jehoshaphat is God shall judge. God has judged in his 18th year of reign. And 18 means bondage, or the law is still in the work of man. Man's still working the law out for himself because he doesn't understand it. And even this 18th year of understanding. And this is the years. These are the bigger circles. And he reigns for 12 years. Now, 12 means understanding. God wants you to have understanding, once again, of this whole understanding and these circles that do go round. Verse 2, and he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord, but not like his father and like his mother, for he put away the pillar of Baal that his father had made. And we'll remember Ahab had raised up my father's brother raised up that pillar of Baal. And Baal is this Lord image that they've made for themselves. This Baalim means these many. This would be a plural of Baal, this image they raise up. And this pillar only means that this is a representation of it. And it's that which shades. It blocks the light, and it creates a shadow for you to stand in. 3. Nevertheless, he cleaved unto the sins of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, wherewith he made Israel to sin, and he departed not therefrom. And we'll remember that what Jeroboam had done. He had made this altar, this other altar, and made this date of festival for himself to cause the people now to come to his altar instead of the altar that God told him to make their sacrifices on. And he caused the people to err by this, even that he had made these images, and said, this is the God that brought you out of Egypt unto the house of Israel. Verse 4, now Mesha, the king of Moab, was a sheep master, and he had rendered unto the king of Israel the wool of 100,000 lambs and 100,000 rams. So Mesha, and Mesha means to be delivered. He's delivered. He is the king of Moab. Moab are those that are like their father. And he's a sheep master. So he's a herdsman. And he was forced to pay tribute now, or a tax, to Ahab in the form of wool. And this amount that he had to pay was 100,000 lambs and 100,000 rams, the wool of them. And this 100,000 is the judgment is fulfilled even on these lambs. These lambs are going to represent the flock overall. The sheep, the lambs are the flock, and the 100,000 rams are these ones that are set over the flock. Even the judgment shall be fulfilled against them. 5. But it came to pass now, when Ahav was dead, that the king of Moab rebelled against the king of Israel. So, the king of Moab, Mesha, this one who's delivered, after Ahab dies, he figures, I don't have to pay this tribute no more, and he decides he's going to rebel or stop paying this tax and go to war. Verse 6. And King Jehoram went out of Samaria at that time and mustered all of Israel. So now Jehoram, God shall be exalted, y'all, in which y'all shall be exalted, and he goes out of Samaria, this place of the drags, and he gets all the armies of Israel together. And he went, and he sent to Jehoshaphat, the king of Judah, saying, The king of Moab hath rebelled against me. Wilt you go with me against Moab to battle? And he said, I will go up. I am as you are, my people as your people, my horses as your horses. So now, Jehoram, he goes to Jehoshaphat. My God is judged. And he's the king of Judah, this place where the praisings go forth. And they decide, he's asking now, will you go up against the king of Moab with me, against Mesha? And because he's rebelled against me, he's not going to pay these taxes my father put upon him no more. And he said, I'll go up with you. And he tells him the same thing that he had told his father. I am as you are, my people as your people, my horses as your horses. So we are one and the same. My people are the same as your people, and my strengths the same as your strengths. 8. And he said, Which way shall we go up? And he answered, The way of the wilderness of Edom. So now the two kings have decided to go fight, and Jehoshaphat asks him, Which way shall we go? And he tells him, we shall come up by the way of Edom. And Edom means red. Oh, and it is in symbology of those that show the blood in the flesh. And this blood is that which bringeth forth the life. And this wilderness is the place where the words drive out. 9. So the king of Israel went, and the king of Judah, and the king of Edom, and they made a circuit of 7 days' journey. And there was no water for the host, nor for the beast that followed them. So now these 3 kings, the king of Israel, the king of Judah, and the king of Edom, because it's complete, these 3 kings, they make this circuit, and this circuit is a circle of 7 days, and 7 is perfection. Days, this understanding in this light, these 7 periods of light and dark, these cycles, and these circles, these small circles. It's a journey, and what they've done is they've run out of water. There's no water for the host, and that they've come to thirst. And when there's no water, this means there is a lack of the Word of God. Then, verse 10, And the king of Israel said, Alas, for the Lord hath called these 3 kings together to deliver them into the hand of Moab. So now, the king of Israel, out of all 3 of them, he says, Alas, for the Lord hath called these 3 kings together to deliver them. And he thinks that God's just called them out there to kill them. Of course, we know that he has an understanding problem due to his parental guidance in idolatry. And this Moab is like those that are like their father. And he thinks that Moab's going to destroy them by the hand of God. 11, But Jehoshaphat said, Is there not here a prophet of the Lord, that we may inquire of the Lord by him? And one of the king of Israel's servants answered and said, Elisha, the son of Shaphat, he is here, who poured water on the hands of Eliah. Jehoshaphat wants to know if there ain't a prophet of God around here that we can inquire of. This is the same thing that he said now when to Ahav when they went out to battle. He wants to find a prophet of God. He don't want to use one of these prophets of Baal around here. And one of Jehoram's servants have said now, Elisha, the son of Shaphat. And Elisha is the mighty one's salvation, and he is the son of Shaphat. And Shaphat means punishment or judgment. This punishment that comes from judgment even. And he says he poured water on the hands of Eliah. Now, to pour water means to be able to take the truth and dump it out of a vessel. But we're noticing now, he's pouring this water onto the hands of Eliah. And what Eliah is doing is washing his hands. And this is the symbology, see now. Eliah, my mighty one is God. He's the one that's washing his hands. He's sanctifying himself. And this is that now he's finishing his work. He's done. He's washing his hand to sanctify himself to enter into the tent of congregation. 12, and Jehoshaphat said, the word of the Lord is with him. So the king of Israel and Jehoshaphat and the king of Edom went down to him. So now Jehoshaphat has heard of Elisha, of course, naturally, and he says the word of the Lord is with him. So him and the king of Edom go down to where Elisha is at. 13, and Elisha said unto king of Israel, what have I to do with you? Get you to the prophets of your father and to the prophets of your mother. And the king of Israel said unto him, neither, for the Lord hath called these 3 kings together to deliver them into the hand of Moab. So Elisha, my father's salvation, tells the king of Israel, Jehoram, he says, get you back to your prophets, these other prophets, these prophets of Baal. And he refuses now. He says neither. He's telling him that God's going to deliver us into the hand of Moab, these that are like their father. 14, and Elisha said, as the Lord of hosts lives, before whom I stand, surely were it not that I regard the presence of Jehoshaphat, the king of Judah, I would not look towards you nor see you. So Elisha now, he tells him, as sure as God's alive, if I didn't care nothing about Jehoshaphat near God's judgment, I wouldn't even look your way. 15, but now bring me a minstrel. And it came to pass when the minstrel played that the hand of the Lord came upon him. So Elisha now has asked for a minstrel, and a minstrel is this one who plays this music. Music usually to soothe something that's evil, or to make it enlighten now the trouble, or to bring pleasantness now to something that's unpleasant. 16, and he said, thus saith the Lord, make this valley full of trenches. So now when this minstrel begins to play and the Spirit comes upon Elisha, he tells him, make this valley full of trenches. 17, for thus saith the Lord, you shall not see wind, neither shall you see rain, yet that valley shall be filled with water, and you shall drink, both you, your cattle, and your beasts. So now Elisha is telling him to dig trenches all through this valley, and this valley is this in representation of this low place, even flesh generally. And he says, now make it full of trenches, or dig ditches now, all through it. For thus saith the Lord, you won't see no wind, or shall you see rain. You're not going to see this storm. This storm is going to be hidden from you, but he's going to fill this valley full of water. And you will drink, you and your cattle and your beasts. 18, and this is but a light thing in the sight of the Lord. He will also deliver the Moabites into your hand. So now Elisha's telling him, he says, and this ain't nothing. This ain't nothing to fill these flesh full of understanding. But now I'm going to deliver the Moabites into your hand, those that are like their fathers. 19, and you shall smite every fortified city, and every choice city, and shall fell every good tree, and stop all the fountains of water, and mar every good piece of land with stones. So now this is what Elisha is telling them they're going to do. God's going to give them the water, and they're going to go in now to those that are like their father. And God's using these now as example. God's using these as an example, those that continue just like their fathers did in the sins thereof, in the ways thereof. See, God is separating again, and he's going to smite these. 19. And he tells them how to do it. These fortified cities are the place where there's a guard, someone who to watch over and warn or tell what's coming. And these good trees now represent these trees of fruit, these trees which you eat of, these understandings, even these understandings and laws of men, and stop all these fountains of water. These fountains of water represent that place where you drank. You go to the well to receive this truth. Every good piece of land, that's where they plant these crops. They sow their seeds there. All this is in representation to the understanding that is being given to the people. This sowing of the seed of understanding even into the minds of the people. And he says you're going to stop up these wells. You're going to throw stones on the land. And this is just to make it hard to plow, hard to till, and it makes it rough for everything when you are a farmer. These stones represent these truths or understandings. 20. And it came to pass in the morning about the time of making the offering that, behold, there came water by the way of Edom, and the country was filled with water. So now, just like God said, by about the time of the morning, by the time you make the morning offering, they get up early and they have prayer for God, a devoted time, a time of dedication. And there comes this water now, this understanding by the way of Edom. This Edom is those that show flesh in the skin, this place of where the flesh shows the blood therein, and it fills the whole country with water. 21. Now when all the Moabites heard that the kings were come up to fight against them, they gathered themselves together, all that were able to put on armor, and upward, and stood on the border. So now those that are like their father have heard that these three kings have come up against them. They've all gathered themselves together to fight. They put on their armor, everyone that could, and even upward, all those, even these that were a little bit older to fight. And they've gone and they've stood on the border. This would represent the edges, where they draw the line, so you can't come beyond this point. And they rose up early in the morning, and the sun shone upon the water. And the Moabites saw the water some way off, as red as blood. So now the Moabites, they wake up early, and they look out into the valley, and what they see are all these trenches that they dug, and the whole land's filled with water, and it looks like blood running down off the mountains. And they think that these three kings have got in a big fight because they were known not to get along. So they think they've all gotten in a big fight and killed each other. And one of them says, "Moab to the spoil." And they run down to gather the booty of it. 24. And when they came to the camp of Israel, the Israelites rose up and smote the Moabites, so that they fled from before them, and they smote the land, even Moab, mightily. So when they get there now, down to the camp where all of them were, the Israelites they jump up and they smite them, or they beat the armies of these like their father back. And they go on to even smite the whole land. 25. And they beat down the cities, and on every good piece of land they cast every man his stone, and filled it, and they stopped all the fountains of water, and felled all the good trees, until there were left only Ker-Hareseth, with the stones of the wall thereof. So the slingers encompassed it, or surrounded it, and smote it. So now Israel beats back these Moabites, and beats back those that are like their father, and they conquer the whole land. And notice each man took up his stone, a piece of the understanding, and they've gone and they cast it down now into the ground of Moab, so that it would make it hard to till there and hard to plant the crops. And they've stopped up these fountains of water, and they felled all the fruit trees. So there's no more understanding left in this place. Neither can they drink from the wells. And the only place that's left is Kirhareseth, with the stones of the wall thereof. And this Kirhareseth means this wall of pot shards. And it has a in-depth meaning here, and it's kind of interesting. These pot shards is even that which they would use to scratch their skin when they would have these diseases of the skin, even these itchings in the skin. They would use these pot shards to scratch it. But in another sense, see, there's a wall built out of these pot shards. And these pot shards represent these broken vessels. These vessels that have been busted. Even these that have been dashed now to the stones. We're going to learn more about where these pot shards come from. What these pot shards are and what they're doing by the prophets later on. But these pot shards are those that contend with each other now in the earth. None of them have an understanding. See? And this is the great city that's made of it. But now the slingers have surrounded it, and they're going to smote it. They smote it. Because, see, the slingers represents these that have the truths of God, and they can sling them now to use them as a weapon. 26, and when the king of Moab saw that the battle was too sore for him, he took with him 700 men that drew sword to break through unto the king of Edom, but they could not. So the king of Moab, that's Mesha, those that are delivered, he takes 700 men now. 707 is perfection, 100 is judgment. And this is the perfect judgment against men, those that draw the sword, those that are using this word as a sword now to smite against the people. He's going to use it. He's going to take these. He's going to try to break through to the king of Edom, those that show the blood in the flesh. But they could not. 27, then he took his eldest son, that should have reigned in his stead, and offered him for a burnt offering upon the wall. And there came great wrath upon Israel. And they departed from him, and returned to their own land. So now, this king of Moab, Mesha, this one who's delivered, he takes his eldest son, even the one who would be the king when he was gone, offers him now for a burnt offering. This is an abomination. This is an abomination to God. This sacrifice of human sacrifice is a total abomination. God never asked for none of this. And when he does this, see, it is a horror to Israel, and in great disgust and shame, they depart from this place and go back to their own land because of the horridness of it. But he does this now upon top of the wall. And this is for a reason, see, because this wall represents these pot shards, and this is that offering that it's offered upon it. We're going to learn more about it when we get to the prophets, and we will be there before too long. All right, we're going to move on to chapter 4.